Hello everybody, I wanted to make a video on MBTI and maturity, or function development if you want, because I noticed that there are a lot of people who think that INTJs, for example, are superior to the other types, or ENTJs are superior to the other types just because they are NTs. And there are also a lot of people who think there are INTJs or ENTJs based on the fact that they outsmart everyone. For example, the person will think, I'm very smart, I'm much more smart than anybody I know, so I must be some kind of NT. But this is wrong. Why? I made a little drawing, if you can see. So as you can see on this image, this is an ISTP and this is an INTJ. I take these two as an example because they are often mistyped. And this ISTP is an ISTP because he uses TI and then SE and then NI and then FE, but his NI is stronger than the NI of this INTJ. And this is an INTJ because he uses NI, TE, FI, SE, and if you go down, his TE is here, and his TI is here, and so on. So as you can see, this ISTP has a better third function than this INTJ's first function. And this is a scale from 0 to 100 in terms of strength of the function. So I have an example to demonstrate this. I was talking to a person on a forum, and we were talking about a very interesting subject. It is the influence of biochemistry or something like that in human relationships, and why you're instantly attracted by some people and instantly you reject some other people. And this person had wonderful insights. He was really smart. I thought I was talking to myself in some way. I'm not saying I'm super smart, but you know what I mean. I thought I was talking to someone that I really understand and who understands me. So at some point, I asked him what was his MBTI type. And he told me he was an ESFP. ESFPs, who are typically seen as this party animal, whatever we want to call it, this social butterfly that isn't intellectual in this case, and I don't think he was mistyped. In this case, he was an ESFP. But his NI was so good that I thought he was an INTJ or something like that. So my point is, the 4-letter code doesn't mean a lot. What is important is the strength you give to each of your functions. There are INTJs with a weak NI, and there are ESFPs with a strong NI, even though it's their last function. And this is what I wanted to point out when I talked about maturity. For example, people like Steve Jobs. I take this example because he's one of these people typically which one of these person which is typically seen as two different types by people. There are a lot of people who say he's an ISTP, and there are a lot of people who say he's an ENTJ, for example. And I think the cause of this is that he had a very strong NI. I don't know about his type, but maybe he was an ISTP with such a strong NI that people believed he was an ENTJ or an INTJ. And you could apply the same reasoning for the other functions. And it can go up or down. He could have had, for example, a bad SE for an ISTP, while some other ISTPs would spend all their time playing video games. Maybe he was different on that aspect. I don't know about his life. I'm just saying that the strength of the function is more determining when it comes to typing than the 4-letter code. This is also, I think, the cause of many people complaining of a lack about, they complain about a lack of similarity between the types. They say that even though people are of the same type, they are totally different. The cause of this is that, one of the causes at least, is that they don't have the same maturity level. So sometimes an INTJ could get along much better with, for example, an ISFJ, even though they have nothing in common, because of this maturity level, because of this function strength. There are some ISFJs who are much more inclined on the I part of their personality than on the SF part. And these ISFJs could have a strong TE or TI. I know it sounds amazing, but actually I think a lot of mistypes in the typology world are based and caused by this, based on this and caused by this. So an INTJ and an ISFJ could have a lot of similarities, while two INTJs could be totally different. And some people are gonna argue that this has to do with Enneagram types or other tests, but even though it has to do with other types, other tests, of course, these other tests are only expressing the difference in the strength of the functions. Let me explain myself. An INTJ, or a person that has a very strong NI, tends to be correlated with some Enneagram types. A person who has very strong TE tends to be correlated with some Enneagram types. When people are completing with other tests, actually what they're guessing is that they fulfilled So actually, when people are completing with other types, they are forgetting that the MBTI type is not limited to the stack function and to the 4-letter code, but also to the maturity level. So an INTJ with a high maturity level could logically be more inclined to be 5, for example. I'm not saying that INTJs who are not 5s are not INTJs. I'm just saying that a strong NI typically leads to Enneagram 5 or Enneagram 8 maybe. I'm not sure. So yes, when many people many people are using their capacity to think as they are biasing themselves to think they are intuitives based on the fact that they are smart, which they can be, but maybe they are not. So personally, what I like to do when I type people, I don't go by the functions alone. I go by, I mean, for example, I'm not going to say this person is INTJ because he is smart. I'm going to say this person is INTJ because in order, on a scale from 0 to 100, their best function, which could be weak, but it would still be their best. Their best function is an I, and their worst function, their less developed, is SI, and so on. And the same for the functions in between. And there are a lot of people who don't do that, and I see lots of videos of people who say I'm an INTJ because I'm introverted, I'm an intuitive, I'm a thinker, I'm a judger. And to me, even though I know it is the basis of MBTI as it was presented to the people, to me this is completely wrong. And it is a complete different system than the one I believe in, which is the order of functions. Because if you follow that system, you are going to see a lot of contradictions. What you will see is that typically all the smart people are NTs, all the philosophers are NTs, all the people who have changed the world in some way are NTs, while it is not necessarily the case. And you are going to think that typically one of the consequences of this method of typing is that currently on the internet, on the Facebook groups or any forum for MBTI, you only see intuitives or people who think they are intuitives. Personally, I think that there is probably as much intuitives as sensors on the internet. So just to conclude, there are a lot of mistypings probably on the internet. Typically pairs like INTJ, ISTP. There are a lot of ISTPs who think they are INTJs based on the fact that they are smart, they are theoretically inclined, and so on. Thank you for watching. I hope I contributed to your knowledge.